So, you want to learn how to make some oxtail? I got you. Come on, let's go. In this video, you're going to learn how to make Trini style oxtail. Let's go. So before we get into the video, I want to share some family history with you. Growing up as a first generation Trinidadian American, I saw my mom cook a lot of meals in the kitchen, and I often just watched her cook these meals. She never taught me, here's how you make this or here's how you make that. I was just always in the kitchen with my mother because she was always cooking for the family, okay? And from watching my mom in the kitchen, I learned a lot of different tips and tricks about how to cook. One of them being oxtail. And so to give you a little bit of a historical background of my personal lived experiences with cooking, I started cooking when I was about 9 years old, okay? And what was amazing about that is I started cooking all kinds of things. Now, we learn by doing, okay? So if you're a person who's afraid of the kitchen or you're afraid of trying to make new things like oxtail, because a lot of you have said to me, I've tried to make oxtail and I just don't know how to do it, this is the video for you. So I'm sharing it with love, I'm sharing it from my heart, and I'm also sharing it from my personal lived experiences as a first generation Trini. Let's get into it. So at this point, we're going to gather our ingredients. Here is everything that you will need. You can pause if you need to and take a look at it. I am actually using 4 pounds of oxtail as seen here, which I got from BJ's. So you'll need about 4 pounds. So now we are at the fun part. We have washed our oxtail and we are ready to move forward into our seasoning. So the first thing I add are my wet ingredients. I just added my Mojo Criollo, and that is a great seasoning that has lemon and all that good stuff to take out that freshness. Now I'm adding some sherry wine, and the sherry wine, similar to the Mojo Criollo, really adds to cutting down the freshness of the meat. I mix in those wet ingredients first and well. I always mix in my wet ingredients first before adding the dry ingredients because it does a great job of helping those other ingredients really seep in. So now I'm moving on to my wet ingredients. This is a wonderful organic bouillon that I get from Whole Foods. And I add about 1.5 tablespoons of this. And this serves the purpose of like a chicken stock flavor. And it's really tasty and it's really great paired with the other ingredients I'm about to show you in a second. So I add that, and this is a really thick substance, but it'll mix in. I then add my minced ginger. Now I'm adding about 3 tablespoons of the minced ginger. Ginger is great with oxtail because it really brings out the beefy flavor in a nice way in comparison with the bouillon. Okay, All right, so those are our wet ingredients, guys, and I'm gonna mix that in all together. Now you will notice that the bouillon, now no matter which one you use, some people like to use Maggi cubes or any other forms of bouillon. If you use it, you'll notice that it'll be a little thick at the bottom at first. Don't worry about that because once we start cooking, it'll all blend in anyway. But you just want to mix it up really well in the bowl, and I'm just showing you what it looks like. You want to really get those wet ingredients in. Now I'm adding a little garlic salt, and I add about 1 to 2 teaspoons of garlic salt. If you notice when I cook, I eyeball things because I have been cooking since I was like 9 years old, and so I really have an idea of seasonings. Now I'm going to add some oregano. This really brings out some great flavor as well, and you just need about 1 to 2 teaspoons of oregano. All right, now I add my celery salt, and this is really underrated. You can also use fresh celery if you want. I like using celery salt, and I add about 1 to 2 teaspoons of that. You can also chop up about 1/4 cup of celery if you prefer fresh celery. Now I'm adding some slap ya mama. This is really good as a spice, as a quick spice to really bring out some of those spicy flavors. Okay, so now you'll see that I have chopped my large onion. You only need half of the large onion, guys. And something else that I want to point out is I did not use the adobo, but I do have it on the ingredients list. And the reason why is because just in case I find that I want to fine tune the taste, if there's not enough salt or not enough flavor, I may add just a smidgen of adobo. But again, you don't need it once you have the bouillon. So here I want to show you that there are a couple ways you can make oxtail. Now, oxtail is a slow cooking kind of thing, okay? Now, you can use a crock pot slash instant pot, which is what I have. And that will cook the oxtail faster, like in about 45 minutes, as opposed to in a regular pot, 2.5 to 3 hours. I have used both. I prefer to use a regular pot because I am the type of person that likes to be standing over my oxtail and adding what I need. So that's just a personal preference, but you can use both. Okay, so now we're getting to the fun part. Okay, so you're going to add that half of chopped onion to your pot. Okay, just like that. You're going to add it right in there, get it all in, and you're going to saute your oxtail in the onion. That's the first step. Okay, and I will show you how that's done. Now, I also prefer to use olive oil with this, okay? Because olive oil is better for you. So please use olive oil instead of cooking oil because it doesn't have trans fat and it's a healthier fat. All right, so now we've got those lovely onions in that pot and it is sizzling in the olive oil. And listen, let me tell you something. I didn't even add the oxtail yet, but the smell in the house with just the onions sizzling in that olive oil is something else, okay? So you're just gonna saute it until those onions become just a little softer, not too soft, just a little bit, like 5 minutes. All right, so now this is what your onion should look like as it starts to just cook a little. And that is always the base for how you start your oxtail, okay? Saute the onions in the oil, and now I am adding the seasoned oxtail that has been marinating for about 20 minutes, okay? Let your oxtail marinate for a bit because that really helps all of the juices get all the way in there. And so I've added my oxtail to the onion mix. The smell is just heavenly, guys. So then you just start mixing up your oxtail with your onions. You will see those bouillon chunks at the bottom. Don't worry, it's gonna blend right in and melt right in, okay? You're not adding anything else right now. All you're doing is cooking the juices that the oxtail were in, and those juices are coming from the sherry wine and the Mojo Criollo. And now you're mixing it with the olive oil, and the onions are also going to produce its own liquid, okay? And you're just going to let that simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes. It smells heavenly, heavenly. So after about 15 to 20 minutes, you're going to open the pot and you'll see, right, that more liquid was created on its own from all of the juices from the oxtail and the ingredients. You are going to just mix it a little bit at the bottom, right? Mixing sort of those ingredients at the bottom in just a little bit. Get your spoon. I prefer to use a wooden spoon because it just works better, especially when you're cooking meat. And so you're just going to mix a little. And this is in preparation to add some water, which is going to be our next step. But first, you just want to mix those juices together, honey. And listen, you're just going to love this. Okay, so as we continue, now we are adding water to our oxtail. And this is a critical step because this is what is going to help cook the oxtail. I add 1 cup per pound of oxtail. So I had 4 pounds of oxtail. I am adding 4 cups of water. Now, remember, you have other juices already in there, so it will probably be a total of 6 cups of liquid overall. All right, so for this next portion, a really important step to get that lovely brown oxtail color, you're going to use about 2 tablespoons of browning and 2 tablespoons of tomato paste for thickening. All right, so now your oxtail is starting to cook. It smells delicious in here. I have added my 2 tablespoons of Jamaican choice browning, and you could use any browning as long as it's browning. Be careful, make sure you don't add too much browning because then the color will be way too dark. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And first I mix that browning in real well to get my color. And then the final step will be adding the 2 tablespoons of that tomato paste, which comes after you add the browning. It's very important to add your browning first and your tomato paste afterwards. And then you're just going to mix it in and you will see that beautiful color start to form. So guess what, guys? After cooking for about 2 hours and 30 minutes, our oxtail is done. And as you can see, this is how your gravy is going to look. I like my gravy not too thick, a little on the light side, and that is because it will continue to thicken up as the time goes on. So after a few hours, you'll see that. Look at that close up. Ah, and as you can see, it is falling off the bone good. I am going to take a piece out just so you can have an idea of how tender and scrumptious the oxtail is. You want to remember to boil at a very, very low fire so that you can get that tender taste. So now I am cutting into this delicious oxtail. You see it's falling off the bone. You know what it is. And it is just so perfect. Look at that. Ah, yummy. I am going to taste it. You can't see me, but I am tasting it and yummy. Absolutely delightful. Mm-mm-mm. It's great to have the first taste, y'all. So I hope that recipe was really helpful for you. I hope that you were able to see exactly how to prepare oxtail from top to bottom. And I hope that you were able to find the ingredients wherever it is that you live. You can find all of the ingredients at any local supermarket, or you can look online for the ingredients if you can't find them where you live. But they're pretty easy to find, most of them. The other thing I want you to know is, in the comments below, tell me what you're having your oxtails with. Are you having it with white rice? Are you having it with potatoes? How do you eat your oxtails and how do you prepare it? And I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I enjoy this recipe. Okay? I hope you enjoy this recipe as much as I enjoy this recipe. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe. And make sure, if you're not following me on social media, you can follow me at Self Love Life 101 or my personal Instagram page, Crystal is Bell. Follow me on Facebook as well. I am Crystal Bell on Facebook. I also have a lovely fitness group where we talk about food a lot. We share recipes a lot, and it's called the Self Love Life 101 Fitness Transformation Group. Last but certainly not least, if you want to support the Self Love Life 101 movement with me, Dr. Crystal Bell, you can also find me on Patreon. Patreon.com/selflovelife101. See you next time for another great video. Peace.